Hope you guys are all doing well. It's about a week since my last video, or a couple of videos that I put out, where I just kind of shared a little bit of my heart, where I've been, why I've been gone, or why I haven't been making videos. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I loved hearing from those of you that reached out. But I want to share something that's been on my mind today. It has a little bit to do with theology, but it has to do with a whole lot more than that. And that's the kind of the topic of suicide. It's a difficult topic, and I just want to bring it up because it's been on my mind. It's been on my heart for a long time. But for the last week, I've had a couple of things come up that have really just brought it to mind. So before we get into that, I do have a couple of Bible reviews coming that I'm super excited to let you know about. I will be reviewing this. ESV sent me the Systematic Theology Study Bible. So I'm going to go through that and review it for you guys. So that should be coming up in the next couple of days or a week. And my dad just found an old Bible that's from the early 1800s. It was one of our old family Bibles, and I'm going to see if I can get him to give it to me so I can show it to you, because I think a 150-year-old Bible is pretty cool. That being said, let me share a verse with you and then just share some thoughts of what's on my mind. John 16:33, this has long been one of my favorite verses. And in the ESV, it says, I've said these things to you so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have tribulation, but take heart. I have overcome the world. This verse has been on my mind a lot lately for the last forever, but for the last 4 months specifically, because we're going through a lot of things here that may not be the worst, most painful, most difficult things in history, but they're difficult. And they most certainly are troubling mentally for us. Things that our generation has never had to deal with is going on, and that's troublesome. Right now we're essentially getting ready to not go back to school, as a lot of school districts are making the decisions to not go back. And our kids' lives and our kids' mental health is at stake. And the topic, the thought of suicide has come up just kind of randomly in the last week in a number of different ways. We were watching America's Got Talent. My family likes America's Got Talent. And one of the guys said his father had committed suicide for whatever reason. And my kids asked me, my oldest is 9, but the 7-year-old asked me what's suicide. So I had to kind of explain it to her and do my best to explain it to her at her level, because I don't hide things from my kids. I want to tell them the truth to the best of my ability. That's age appropriate. I was also at the beach recently, and a beach that I used to go to a lot as a kid. My youth group used to do beach days, and I love this beach. And I was just walking on the beach with my daughter, and I thought of 2 good friends of mine that I grew up with. They were both brothers. Both of them have taken their lives for different reasons, and that makes me really sad, because it's just hard. It's a hard thing to think of what people have gone through, or what they're going through mentally. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So maybe if it's not something you ever have thought about, maybe you'll understand it a little more, or think about it a little different. Make sure you're reaching out to those that you can reach out to. For some people, the issues over the last few months have been only COVID-19. They've focused so much on COVID-19, which is a disease that is 99.9% survivable. It's important to know that. It's important to know that this is a 99.9% survivable disease, but we've been so focused on the fear that our nation has, if you're watching this in the United States, that our nation has kind of forced onto us, that it's hard to have thought about anybody else or anything else. The reason I say that is because a lot of people don't know that the suicide rate in our nation has, when I last checked, more than tripled. ER doctors have been saying that they've seen more cases of suicide come through the emergency rooms, and more successful suicides happen in the last 3 to 4 months than they typically see in a year. This is not surprising. Some of the cities that have the highest suicide ratings in the world are cities that are very, very cold and very, very dark. There are a couple up in Canada that I happen to know about. But the reason is because people don't go out. When it's -60 for 2 months at a time, and it's dark for most of the day because of how the earth rotates around the sun, they get depressed, and the depression sets in. Well, now in a lot of places in our nation, we're experiencing that. It's just not cold. People can't go anywhere. Nothing's open. There's nothing to do. And for people that suffer with depression, this has been an extremely difficult time. If that's not you, please hear me. If life has been okay for you and you haven't been struggling, hey, great. God has blessed you as he has me. But it's important to not forget some of the other statistics that are happening right now. So maybe suicide is not something that you've ever studied much, or that you don't know how to answer. What if a friend called you up and told you they were struggling mentally? What would you do? I want you to think about those things. Hopefully, if this video does nothing else, it's get you to think about that. And I'm going to give you a resource or two at the very end. But get you to think about that, because maybe something like that will happen. In our nation today, sadly, even amongst kids, even amongst youth, the mental health crisis that is upon us, and that will only exponentially grow as we continue to close down our world, is something that has been swept under the rug and not thought about. And as Christians, and just as good human beings, we need to be prepared to come alongside our brothers and sisters and our friends and our family and our neighbors and walk through them the best we can. People that struggle with depression don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm not going to speak for all of them, but I just am going to try to share my heart and share what I do know about this problem. People that struggle with the darkness, with the sad days, chances are you're not going to have the right thing to say that's going to pull them out of their issue. The reason that I say that is, don't feel like you have to have the perfect thing to say or the exact right verse to share with them. There's a chance they're not really listening. That's not what's going to help them. What is going to help them is that you are there, and that you're willing to suffer with them, that you're willing to go to where they are and sit with them, even quietly, maybe in the dark, maybe get them out of the house, help get them out of the house, and get their mind focused on something else, do a project. It's not always about what we say. It's not always about the exact words or the right Bible verse. It's about being willing to walk through their pain with them and take a little bit of that away. These people that suffer with depression, and people that get to the point where they're considering taking their own lives, or maybe they have attempted to take their own lives. It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't really experienced kind of the darkness, feeling like the walls are closing in, feeling like there's no other way. Maybe you've heard before that they kind of think that they're doing you a favor. They think they're doing you a favor of removing themselves from your life because they kind of think that they're no good. And some days there's just no good reason for it. A lot of times we always want a reason, as humans. What's the reason? What's causing this? Did you have a bad day? Did you get fired? Hear it from me, at the very least. There's not always a reason. And some people, I can't speak for everybody, but some people that suffer with depression, they get sad just because. There is no reason. Hopefully, if they've had some therapy, or if they have friends that have worked through these, or if they're Christians and know that, there is a God and he's taking care of you. Hopefully they know that those feelings that they're experiencing are not true. That even though you're sad and you can't explain it, and it's just this pit inside your stomach that doesn't seem to go away, you're able to work through those thoughts and emotions and understand that those things aren't true, so I'm not going to make any decisions based on those feelings. But what I have noticed in the past is that the people that are able to just come alongside, if you're struggling, if you're having a bad day, maybe you have a spouse that understands this about you, or family members. If you're watching and that's you, if you're watching and this has been a problem for you, especially over the last few months with just fear of the unknown, or the difficulty and the anxiety with what tomorrow's going to be like, what new regulations are going to get put on us and not get put on us, the inability to go to some of the normal spots that you go to, your routine has been drastically altered. These are all things that are like triggers that could cause a bad day. It could cause you to start struggling more regularly. If that's you right now, first of all, know that there are people out there that love you. Again, I know that there's no right things to say to you, and that this doesn't matter. But maybe you watch this video on a day that you're not struggling, and you'll hear me say there are people out there that love you. They don't understand what you're going through, but that's okay. We love you, and we want to be there for you. There's help out there. There are local pastors. There's friends and family. Hopefully you're watching this on a good day and you'll reach out on those good days and let people know, hey, this is something I struggle with. I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with days where I'm just incredibly sad and don't know why. And I feel like the world is dark and I can't pull myself out of it. And share that with your loved ones, share that with your friends, so they know, hey, are you having a bad day? You can just say yes, and they know that that's it. There's nothing they can do other than be there with you that day. Sit there with you, spend time with you. Let them do that. Let them be there, answer the phone, be willing to make that phone call and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. I need you to come over. If you're watching this and you've stuck with me this long, and that's not you. You've never experienced this kind of darkness. Be willing for your friends and family. Let them know if they struggle with this, or if somebody opens up to you about that. Man, one of the most loving Christian things that I can ever tell you to do is just be there. That's all you got to do is be there. Answer their text. Show up. Go to their house. Bring them ice cream. Go pick them up. Go out to dinner. They might be a jerk to you. They might yell at you and hate you for it, but they're not going to tomorrow. Just be there. Don't worry about having the right things to say. Just listen. Sometimes just listening, it speaks louder than any words that you could say. So I just want to share that's been on my heart lately, because this topic keep kind of coming up because it's getting swept under the rug by the powers that be. And then my kids brought it up, and then the beach brought it up that I told you about. And I thought, maybe this is a topic that needs to be discussed. And maybe it's something that you all need to know, that there are people out there that just have rough days and that have sad days for no reason. There's no logical reason that they're sad or upset or depressed. They couldn't put it into words for you. It's just their heart is just sad. And they might not know how to get past it themselves. So I told you I'd give you a couple resources. The first resource is, of course, I want to do my best to always mention this on this channel, is the gospel of Jesus Christ. You just need to know that he's always there. You're not always going to feel him. Some days you might hate him, but he's always there. If you have offered your life to him and you are a member of his kingdom, you've repented, and you're from your sinfulness and you want to live a life that's glorifying to him, he's wrapping his arms around you. You're a member of the kingdom. He cares about you because you're one of his children. And again, even though you can't feel it all the time, especially on those bad days, it's important to remember, I say this a lot on this channel, what you know to be true. So you need to study what is true every day. So on the bad days, and on the good days for that matter, you know what the truth is, and that's that God is sovereign, that he cares and loves you. He will never forsake you. He will never leave you. He will never fail like humans will. And that's something that's a resource that you need to work on and you need to study. If you don't believe that to be true, please hit us up. Let us know. And by us, I mean anybody in the comments will help you out and point you towards the gospel and do the best. There's a couple of videos on this channel about it. But we want to get you there because that's our only hope. And on some days, that's literally the only hope that you have. Second resource I want to point you towards is a good friend of mine named Jonathan Noyes, Jon Noyes, Jon, at Stand to Reason, STR.org. So he's kind of tackled this topic and has done a great job. He's a apologist and speaker with Stand to Reason. If you don't know about them, you haven't been watching my channel very long. Again, STR.org is headed up by Greg Kokel, and they have some of the best resources, topics, and discussions on the Christian faith and how to defend it that you'll find anywhere. So my friend John has handled this topic, and he has been speaking all around the country on it. So please go to YouTube, type in his name. You'll probably find a couple of videos. But for sure, go to str.org and look up his stuff. He's written a couple of things, and he has done a whole lot of research and studying on this topic that might help you understand it from a Christian perspective and from an apologetics perspective. And that's another resource that I think is very valid and might point you towards other good resources that might help you through a tough time. I hope that at least one of you out there have learned something, or maybe this video will help you get through a tough day. Please let us know down in the comments if you're struggling, and we can help point you in your area towards a church. Whatever the case may be, is reach out, even if it's to a suicide hotline or something like that, to get yourself somebody to talk to. Try to get those people in place before you have the bad day. And if you're in the middle of your bad day right now, man, God bless you. I pray for you guys all the time because it's hard. It's hard. It's been a heavy subject, but I think that it's an important one. And as we go throughout the next weeks, months, years, I hope it's something that we'll constantly remember and help our brothers and sisters out with, especially in this time when we can't see them on a regular basis. And can't see their faces and how they're reacting to our questions. It might be important to pay attention to other things, like whether or not they're responding to us or how they're responding. Hey, you know what? Thank you guys so much for listening. If you've hung out to this point, the next video or two will be a little bit lighter than this one, because we're going to do a couple of Bible reviews. And I really appreciate you guys listening. Have a great day.